Tell me what the hell are you scared of when in the end the only thing
Where's
that's
the love?
left
Right here on
love's
this
in your
podcast.
hand.
Welcome to
To
Love Drops, where your hosts and One Love ambassadors, Charles and Diane, will share love, hope, and inspirational topics taken from their journey and world events. We will also include on location recordings and special pop up guests from cool places all around the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never fails.
Welcome to another edition of Love Drop Podcast. Really excited for this guest. We've had some awesome conversation virtually before, so it's not my first time seeing him on the screen. And we've interacted a lot via LinkedIn. And I'm just excited to jump into the conversation. I love the human connection that we have made and we continue to make. And with that, I will pass it over to Charles to introduce our guest. So, Charles, please.
Thank you, Diane. Our guest today, Colin Parsons, is the founder of Vantage and a host of honest, thoughtful conversations that explore the human side of life, work, growth, and connections. He is deeply conscious about people, how they think, what they carry, what shapes them, and what helps them move forward with more clarity and intention. Through life conversations and reflective contents, Collins creates space for depth, perspective, and realness in a world that often rewards speed and surface level noise. He's especially drawn to the unseen things, the quiet struggles, the hidden strengths, the patterns people overlook, and moments that can change how someone sees themselves or their path. His work is grounded in the belief that when people feel safe enough to be real, better conversations happen. And from these conversations, better choices, relationships, and lives can begin to grow. And with that said, Collins, you now have the mic.
Thank you very much. So, Charles, I'm just wondering, have you ever done any voiceover work? Because it's like honey in my ears when you talk. It's quite something.
Oh, well, Collins, I would say I'm going to offer you $1 million. Let that ring. It's coming. But thank you. I certainly appreciate that.
Yes. So, Colin, jump in and let's dive into our conversation, which is allowing for the next. How does that resonate with you this morning, Colin?
It brings up a few things. So, for me, I spent most of my life living in the future. I always thought, when I have this, then I will build this. And something happened to me about 2 years ago. I met someone while I was still married, and I started into a relationship with that person. It's very strange because for the last 2 years, you sit in this space of feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, knowing that you've had an impact on the people around you that you love. But at the same time, I've started to create my own business. And what I realize is there's so much that we hold on to from our past: relationships, guilt, feeling, beliefs, etc. And to allow for the next, you have to really let go of that, not baggage, but understand what's holding you back, what stories you were telling yourself, how you see yourself, in order to prepare yourself for the next. Because nothing's really going to change if you just carry on the way that you did, carrying those feelings, fears, anxieties, shame, all of those things around that. We've often said this on conversations. We seem to just want to add more to our lives, more, whether it's consuming something or just, okay, I'm going to do more tasks because that makes me more successful. I'm just going to cram more into our day. But for a long time and more recently, I realized that actually I have to let go of a lot. And it's not about trying to level up. It's what can I get rid of, whether that's baggage, self-belief, just day-to-day tasks, and really understanding what's holding me back, why it's holding me back is often a really important thing. Oh, sometimes we carry stories with us to beat ourselves up or even to protect us from trying something new, avoiding feeling scared or jumping into some imposter syndrome. But I really think that, it doesn't have to happen on one day. I think you can't really move on to the next without looking of where you are, where you've come from, and not existing in the past, being present, but just sort of saying, okay, what would I like to go into? What's the next thing, the adventure, the relationship, the thing that I'm excited about? And how do I get there? And what needs to change? And when it comes down to change, I think we all get a bit scared, we worry about it, and we all think it has to happen overnight. But there are baby steps that we can take, and it can be a very enjoyable journey. It can be very curious. You can discover a lot about yourself, the people around you, and it can feel a bit tough sometimes. Let relationships go, friends, family, people that you spent time with, but be grateful for those, because they kind of define you and they're part of your story. But that shouldn't hold you back from taking the next steps. So it's long-winded, but yeah, it's currently where I'm seeing it as of today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you so much for doing it in grace, because the way you told your story, you can tell that you're not beating up on yourself and you have allowed yourself to just flow into the next, right? I hear an accent in your voice. So where are you streaming in from today?
I'm based in Luxembourg, so probably quite a lot of people don't actually know Luxembourg. It's a country in between France, Germany, and Belgium. It's a very small country. Think of it like Switzerland, smaller, but just the same sort of thing. Quite clean, quite lovely. A little bit keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah, I've got a big house. I need a bigger house, so I've got a big car. But you don't have to buy into all of that. It's very good. But originally, I'm from the UK. I'm from a place called Essex. I don't know if there still is, but there was a TV, like a reality show, I guess your equivalent of like Jersey Shores or something like that, from where I'm from. It doesn't always depict people in the best of lights, and but yeah, but that's where I originate from, and I go back. It's only an hour by plane to get back, so I'm trying to be intentional with my family and just going back. My parents are getting a bit older. We get busy with life, but we want to celebrate the people in our lives and what they've given us. So I want to make sure that I go back at least once a month to go and see them, and even if it's just to grab a coffee, sometimes we think they have to be these big celebratory moments, but just a simple coffee and listening to your mum talk about, how her life's been for the last couple of weeks, it means a lot to me.
Yes.
Yeah, same here. And when we were coming on, I guess you were kind of chuckling because I was getting off the line with my mom. And so that matters, that matters when we're allowing for that next. It matters that we take it all in and make the main things the main things. A lot of times, like you were saying about keeping up with the Joneses, we put our priority on things instead of the people, because when it comes down to it, it's the people that are going to be there for you. Whatever car, house, or whatever you have, none of that can comfort you. So that kind of takes me into that human connection about, just allowing for the next, because, we have AI, and you have people just kind of isolating on their own private islands. People are just kind of like separating themselves into pods, right? So I want to pass it to Charles, but before I do, I want to just give you this to marinate on and maybe speak to after, and that is, in allowing for what is next with you, how do you integrate that with, making human connections, Charles?
Okay, just circling back to what you said earlier, in essence, getting light for the flight, getting or pushing the things that you don't need to make your next, lighten up the load as you're going forward. Some of the things you don't need to take with you. So what's needed and what isn't? What's going to hold you down for a successful next or the best of your ability on your next? If you're carrying all this negative baggage, well, that doesn't need to go with you on your next. So now we're ready to do our next. We have no negative baggage. We have all the positive things, and we can move forward on our next.
Yeah, it's such an important thing, and I don't think that everything needs to go. I think oftentimes we try to erase things that have happened, but it's just I think when we think about emotions and we think about things, or maybe how we've shown up, we can beat ourselves up about it. We can lighten that load on ourselves. It's not that we forget or we try and blank out what has happened in our past, but it's just the relationship we have with those things. And I think that's the baggage. I'm very grateful for the life that I've had and all instances that I've had along the way, good, but also the bad, because not the bad, because there's always lessons in everything. And I think that makes us wiser. And we do things at a certain time because of circumstances, and we can beat ourselves up and say, oh, I wish I'd done something differently. But why? It was a moment in time, and there's reasons for it, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, and you go, oh yeah, I would have liked to have done it differently. But there's choices in the moment that you make for various reasons, and if you get to peace with that, you're carrying the awareness of what happened, but not the baggage that's associated and wearing you down. So do you want me to answer the question about isolating and stuff like that?
Yeah, just allowing for the next in human relationships, because we're humaning different now. It's a lot different now. So how are you allowing for that?
For me, it's a strange world. I think, like you say, people are becoming very isolated. And I think we're trying to become more individual, and we're overlooking what we actually need as humans, which is community connection. And we think that we don't need that, and we're using technology in a way to sort of substitute that. And yeah, technology is great. We're doing this via the internet. It's great. And our paths would have probably never have crossed in day-to-day lives. Maybe they would. You never know how synchronicities work. But and I think we're trying to get to this isolation place, and we're using technology. We can beat up on technology all the time. Everything has its pluses and minuses, and we just need to be careful of how that impacts our lives. I think we're using AI has come into the picture, and it's the popular thing, it's the trendy thing. I think we are outsourcing a lot of our thinking to AI. We're building relationships with AI, and that's okay to an extent, but that shouldn't replace human contact, because AI references data, it references, books and everything like that, but you have to feed it information. You have to give it the whole picture, and AI won't understand you as well as someone who's been there around in your life for a long time, because you can't fill it with all that data. You can't fill it with all of your memories, your thoughts, how you show up and what it means to you. And I think people are learning it. There is this danger that people are relying on it too much. I know people are using it almost to solve all of their problems, and we shouldn't necessarily outsource our thinking. And we seem to want to head for an easier life, as in the easy option. And I think, when you look back in history, things have happened. We've learned from that. Sometimes we ignore lessons of the past, but we should come together. There is wisdom. If you think about, everyone had their role in communities. There'd be the protector, the leader, the communicator, the wise person. They all became a part of that community, and we all had those roles and responsibilities, and we're kind of moving away from that. And we're isolating, and we're looking for one thing, maybe AI or technology, to replace those other parts or that other wisdom from the other people. I know AI is getting smarter every day, etc., but I don't think it's ever going to replace that. And I think we'll get to a point where, certainly I can see it for myself, sometimes we're a bit oblivious to stuff because we're excited about the technology and using it that way. But I think there will be a point when we realize, something's missing. I need that connection, that community, that person that really understands me. I don't want to have to tap onto a keyboard or talk into a microphone. I want to go for a walk with someone. I want someone's wisdom. I want someone to listen to me and, mirror back, or just even listen to me without judgment or trying to solve something. And I really don't feel that AI will ever give that to us. So what's next? I don't know. I think there's a learning curve with it all. I don't want to bring my work into this too much, but strangely enough, when I started it, I just wanted to have genuine connections with people. And what I found a lot of the time is, attention deficit is terrible, even for
Yes.
myself. We watch something for 10 minutes and then we flick over, or we're on our phones while we're watching the TV. I realized that, with AI and technology, everything is being faked. And so with my lives, I didn't know, I just had a feeling it's something I wanted to do. And they were genuine conversations. And we have to allow for thinking. We seem to want a question and an answer instantly.
Hmm.
But the beauty is in the thinking, like where your brain is going. Why does it think that? And understanding what's going into all of that. And sometimes we're not aware ourselves, but having conversations genuinely back and forth with a curious mind, and just trying to understand, okay, where are you thinking that? Why are you thinking that? It seems to be growing in popularity, to be honest. Like, people have started to go, yeah, I really like it. And most of my conversations are around an hour, 10 minutes. And if they're going on longer, I say, look, let's do a round two. But sometimes I think, oh, am I adding value? And there is always this thing that we have to add value. Everything that we say has to be question, answer, value. Yeah, everything, time is so important. But slowing it down, just going, okay, like, let's just think about it. And also being wrong about stuff or not getting it right. We
Yeah.
live in this world where it's all got to be accurate, or, yeah, perfect. How we look, how we present ourselves in the world. We're great parents, we're great kids, whatever, you name it. There is no perfect. And the beauty is in not being perfect. But we seem to be
Absolutely.
striving and making ourselves very unhappy trying to be
Absolutely.
perfect. And I think why people seem to start listening is because they want genuine conversations. I don't always finish my sentences. I don't always, I think you might get to the point where you understand what I'm trying to say, or I don't ask all the most meaningful questions, but
Hmm.
that's okay. I'm really okay with it. And what I find from my guests is often that they don't feel that they need to be in performative mode. We kind of, when we do something, we think that we have to act a certain way or say a certain thing. Whereas I don't do that for myself. I kind of shy the other way. I'm a bit more introverted in that way. But just having that genuine conversation without that ulterior motive to kind of perform, or
Exactly.
to convince people that we've got it all figured out,
Right.
allows for that free flowing thought process, back and forth, genuine connection. And for me, what sits in there is this trust. And this is obviously about what's next. And I think we've lost a lot of trust in ourselves, trust in government, trust in technology, everything. And I
Everything.
think that's what's next. Well, we've all been sold courses, we've all done some shopping on the internet, and then you're upsold, and before you know it, you've bought £1,000 thing, and it's just ridiculous. And it's like, okay, no, I really, and we feel manipulated in some way. Well,
Yeah.
that's certainly how I felt. And I think we need to get back to that place of trust. Just trust in
Absolutely.
ourselves, trust that we're okay, we're good, and trusting in other people. You two are prime examples. There's such a genuine connection between you two, and the way that you host this and the way that you are together. And that builds a lot of trust. And we often try to go, right, you need to trust me, you need to trust me. It's not a direct thing. It just happens through
Exactly.
slow steps, time. And we want these quick fixes. We want it all to be fixed tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. Take your time, enjoy it, build trust without selling, without buying, without an agenda. I think then we'll start going, okay, now how do we build on that trust? What do we need? What do we need to see? What can I give rather than receive? And yeah, I think
Right.
for me that might be what's next.
Wow, spot on. You hit so many things. You hit synchronicity, you hit trust, you hit patience, right? It's not instantaneous, right? You hit emotions, right? Because AI cannot give us the emotions that we get from another person. And like you said, AI gives us what we give it, it gives to us back. So it kind of mirrors us. Whereas when it's another person, they'll call you on it, in love, sometimes tough love, but it's like, hey, Colin, pull up from your bootstraps. You gotta come up out of this. It's okay to feel what you feel, but all right, come on, bud, get up, take a shower. We're going for a walk. Meet you at the coffee shop, things such as that, right? And I think a big thing in our conversation is just allowing for what is next. We have to make peace with what is. And once you make peace with what is, then you get light for the flight because everything does not go into your next. So some things you're going to have to just release it so that you can get into that next. And it's easy when it's things that maybe you don't like or maybe things you want to release. It's a little bit more of a challenge when it's things that you're attached to, things that you're comfortable with, things that you want to hold on to. But in order to get to that next, you have to let go, right? So, in allowing for the next, alignment and flow are key points. And so, as we are wrapping up, because we could go on and on to the break of dawn, we're going to just come out with our final says on it. So, Charles.
Well, I could say, as we were discussing things, some of the emotional contents is just being taken away from us. I'll say us as human beings. A lot of times when we don't employ emotions, that's who we are. That's who we are. That makes us us. There's no you without us. We're all in there. So we have to combine those together and not just become robots, but engage with one another and getting light for the flight, moving into the next. What do you need for that journey? And what's just holding you down? Diane and I was referring to those as drag-ons. You've had this forever. It's just a drag-on. So you let it go and say, wow, look what I've released and look what I've received, all in me. Because you're starting to build, making that next in you first and moving forward.
Yes. And so, Colin, a couple of things. First, thank you for your time. It's non-refundable. So I appreciate you sitting here with us today in our virtual studio. And secondly, what love drop do you have for our listeners to kind of flow with allowing for the next? So what is it that you'd like to leave?
So I did this practice. I was recommended this book. It says, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depended on It. And it's by Kamal Ravikant. And it's a very simple thing. It's a book. You can have it on audio. It's about loving yourself. And to allow for the next, you have to love yourself. For me, I've spent a lot of time thinking when I have this, then I will feel that. You can give yourself that today, now, by loving yourself. And we don't do that. But take a bit of time, because when you love yourself, things open up. You let go of that baggage. You see yourself in a different light. You don't beat yourself up. That inner critic that's in your head, if that's your voice or someone you know's voice in your head, that quietens down or becomes more of your friend than your enemy. But you have to love yourself. We should all love ourselves, and we often mistake that in the pursuit of other things. We look for validation from the outside. But for me, validation starts from the inside, and that's not selfish, because once you're happy with yourself, you can help many, many more people.
Yes, that's well said. Spot on as well. So we know that you have your own show. I invite listeners to check out Colin's conversations.
So it's under LinkedIn, but I call it Vantage Point Conversations. So yeah.
Yes, Vantage Point Conversations. And it's also on YouTube too, correct?
Yeah, so I stream to LinkedIn. That's where most people find me. But I also stream to Instagram. I'm not quite sure why I do that. I don't know if I'm too old for it. I'm not sure I quite understand it. But yeah, I was streaming directly to YouTube. But I'm now doing it after the fact. I'm uploading and being a bit more purposeful, because started to learn that the platforms all work in a different way. So live streaming is okay on YouTube, but I'm going to upload with a more catchy thumbnail that more sort of resonates with the YouTube audience. The conversation behind it is exactly the same. I'm maybe thinking about doing a nice little intro, just like you've done. But yeah, you can find it's either YouTube or on LinkedIn is probably the best place to find
Gotcha.
those.
Gotcha. So I'll get the links and have them in the show notes. And I invite you guys to just check out Vantage Point. And I think I'm joining Colin in a conversation in the near future. So
I think
yeah,
it's next week. I think so, looking at my schedule. So yeah.
yeah. So we will definitely have that in the show notes as well. And yes, do love yourself first and allow for the next, whatever your next may be. We all have different nexus. Allow for your next. We thank you for listening. We invite you to subscribe if that resonates and definitely share this show with others. And until next time, Charles and I say,
One love.
Never a second will I waste, never an opportunity to taste the sweetness of this life.
Thank you for tuning in to the Love Drops podcast. Be sure to follow this podcast and share the love with everyone you know. Until next time, this is Charles and Diane signing off. One love. One love.
Love it conquers all. Love never